Chairman, thanks for your time. It's been an interesting pre-season for TS Galaxy. Well, actually, yeah, before we talk about the start of the season.
Yeah.
Players have left, players have come in. So for you, just please describe what pre-season was like in terms of trying to prepare and making sure that you have a competitive squad for the season.
It was a very fulfilling one. We had a very fulfilling pre-season. I'll tell you why. Because for the first time, probably in the history of the club, or at the very least in the last 4 years, we, in this pre-season, or the pre-season that just ended, we managed to have, as a core, about 95% of the players that have been at the club for at least 2 seasons. How pleasing is that? It had never happened to us. So with that, we're quite confident that we'll have to see, or we'll see a lot of progression, in the performance of the players, because they've been with the coaches for at least 2 years. So yeah, we prepared well. The difference will obviously be that we didn't bring like a German Bundesliga club, FC Augsburg, like we did last season and all that. But then preparation is preparation. So we had our periodization, we had our scheduled sessions and kind of sessions, we had our scheduled training matches, playing Stellenbosch, for example, I think is good enough for one to gauge themselves on their state of readiness. So, and of course, we also played Bawane Swallows, in Bombela. To me, that was also good enough. Yeah, so I would simply say we had a very good season. Pre-season.
And you mentioned players who've been here, but I think there are some who left who had been here. Max Munyai, I think Lindo Bushembata left. Keegan Dolly was just here for I think just a season. But letting go of some of these experienced campaigners that you've been with, was it a difficult decision for the club?
Not necessarily. Obviously, in my best world, I would rather have everyone who's been at the club, especially those who have sort of contributed a lot. Yeah, so not necessarily. Our model, as you can see, we are also dropping down, the average age of our squad, meaning that we are also bringing youngsters. So fortunately, unfortunately, if that has to happen, it would definitely mean that your old regard, may have to find way, or make way rather, for some of the youngsters that you'll be bringing up.
You mentioned actually something different, interesting there, with trying to reduce the average age in the team. Is this a direction that most PSL teams are now starting to take? Because we're seeing an emergence of more youngsters coming in, and what does it mean for the older generation of players now?
No, not necessarily. I don't think it's the direction that PSL clubs are intending to take. But it's something that is almost happening automatically. For that, I give credit to the Reserve League, the establishment or the commencement of the DDC. Since then, I think it took about maybe 3 years or something. Then you started seeing many of the youngsters who would have played in the DDC coming up, making their first team squads or first team football in their teams. And indeed, the level of that league, I think the Reserve League started improving by the years. As it did that, so did the quality of the youngsters coming up. So you can go back, maybe you'd find that 70 to 80% of the youngsters playing in the PSL or who are starting to play now have been in one way or another to a DDC league, or they've played DDC football, which is great, which is really great. So clubs are the beneficiaries of the DDC or the Reserve League system that the league established some years ago.
And we mentioned the players who have left. There's quite a few who've left, and also quite a number of players who have come in. For your coaches though, because I think almost every season you lose some of the key players to the big teams. And I don't know if the word frustrating is right. Is it not frustrating for the coaches where they kind of have to start again in a way.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. It's not frustrating. I think they welcome it. The reason would be that our coaches get a proper brief when they take a coaching job at our club. So we are a club that has got a multi-role to play. One, we have to give effect to our business model, which is to transfer the best of our talent and reinvest in our project. That we have to do. Why? Because we don't have a franchise sponsor, just as yet, if I should put it that way. So therefore, we don't have that luxury of holding onto our best talents, fortunately or unfortunately. Then I said before that people have to always gauge us against our position in the league. So in the last 4 seasons, probably we are the club that has sold the most, or transferred the most in the last 4 seasons. But then we have been improving our league position every season. And that surely, it means that we have managed to strike a balance, which should be a very difficult balance to strike, by the way. I had said it in other platforms that you can challenge anyone. Go to Sundowns or Chiefs or Pirates, for example, and say transfer your best 7 players, starting 11. Say Ronan must go, say Mudau must go, Deboho Mukona must go, Shalulile must go, Ribeiro must go, in one swap. And then let's see if they retain their position in the league. Never mind improving on it. So we've been able to do that. The same goes with Orlando Pirates or any other club, obviously, that we regard as a big club in our country. So that's one. So secondly, of course, we are very appreciative of our role as TS Galaxy Football Club within the South African football context. So we are a club that has to produce players, not only for our big sister clubs, but for our national teams. We have to play that role. Yes, I think all clubs are duty bound to do that, but in our way of workings, we believe that we have to see TS Galaxy alumni playing a meaningful role in our national team, or generally, playing international football. Because this would then mean that we will have done a great job in producing them, and therefore, as our national teams are improving with our alumni on board, it means that we are contributing meaningfully to football in the country. So we are also more about Project Football South Africa as TS Galaxy Football Club. So I can make a clear example. We just recently transferred Kamogelo Sebelebele to Orlando Pirates, who has been a consistent performer at our club for at least the last 2 seasons. And the reason for that, people may just think that it was money. No. Money is a good part to it, but the truth is that Sebelebele has been giving the same level of performance week in, week out, or if not better, at TS Galaxy. But he never made the main squad, and he was never going to make it. So, yes, he was not going to make the squad. But then what then do you do? Do you have to keep this talent here because you need it, or because you just believe that you can? Or find ways of allowing the young man to have the opportunity, to realize his best potential. And the best way can't be better than him playing for a big club. So he went to Orlando Pirates. On a 60% performance of what he was doing here, he will be in the national team. Everyone is raving about it.
Squad, I think.
He is in the preliminary squad. Definitely he will make Bafana main squad. He has to. I think he has shown that probably currently he's the best winger now in the country. So, and therefore the non-national team coach can afford not to have such a player. Otherwise it will be a travesty. So a player like that you transfer for that reason as well, for his own sake, for his own career. never mind your own interest. People will sit and think that we've made big money. No, it's not about that. Actually not. It was a transfer that, one, would benefit the player's career, and secondly, also our national team. We need a Sebelebele at our main national team. But if he plays for TS Galaxy, won't make it. That's the brutal truth.
We'll get to Sebelebele and the ones that have left, because I was asking about the coach. So when you do sell a few players and bring in new ones, do you make room for the coach to sometimes have a slow start? Because we've seen, in the PSL where people lose patience and they let go of coaches. So when you have that process of letting go of players, do coaches have room here at TS Galaxy to say?
Yeah, look, we exercise reason at TS Galaxy, in our manner of approach to football. And of course, we realize that it would need probably time to adapt players. Players don't adapt the same way. It's not a foregone conclusion that if you found this very talented player, you will shoot the lights out on day one. No. So they might need to take some time. So then, our coaches, for their own careers, not me, they've set themselves a minimum of a top 8 position every season. That's great, isn't it? Regardless of what happens, whether we have transferred the players or not. So that's the target and I believe also that it is now about time that you see TS Galaxy consistently in the top 8 bracket anyway. So now, once we are in the top 8 bracket, they always say, it becomes a question of a position. The higher the better. I'm happy with that. I think it's aligned with the club's objectives. So we want to be the club at least that participates in one of the biggest tournaments, season in, season out. At least be on the better half of the log table.
And cups, knockout competitions?
Yeah, for sure. Look, obviously we still hold the record of being the only club since this earth was created in South Africa to have won our FA Cup from the lower ranks. I said it when it happened, in 2019, that you won't see that in our lifetime. It was a situation abnormal. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, we were even the first club in the history of the Confederation, African Confederations, the CAF. I think after that, maybe a club in Nigeria did it or something like that. But before, it was us. So you can imagine. So it means that the levels between Premiership football and lower club football is so high. I mean, the difference is huge, and the level of the PSL is very, very high. What bears testimony to this is you will recall that during COVID, all NFT clubs were given a thing buy, and they got into the last 32 of the Nedbank Cup because there was this COVID situation. Yeah, none of them made it to the quarters. 16. It tells you that the difference is so huge. So to come, not only make it to the quarters or semi-finals and win it, it was a massive thing. So we pride ourselves with that. And of course, if you look back at that squad, you will see the players who played in that squad. So somewhere, somehow, probably we foresaw on their talent, their level, they've got good talent, and they're going to make very, very good careers. Yeah. So, but then of course, we also want to win cups. It is the reason why you saw us losing in the penalty shootout of the Kalini Black Label Cup. So we got into the final, and that wasn't the end of it. You're still going to see us in many finals, and certainly you're still going to see this club annexing 1 or 2 cups, in the immediate future.
Chairman, I think we even spoke about it before. Please take me through the process of scouting for a player at TS Galaxy, because the other day you posted on X there, the Sikhenduli, Kamogelo Sebelebele, and Laduma, and the others at other PSL teams that have left Galaxy, and they got their first taste of top flight football here. How do you find players? Who finds players for you? And what is a TS Galaxy player?
Yeah. Look, I think if I were to explain how we find players, so I'll be giving away our intelligence, isn't it? and I would be cautioned on doing such. But the long and the short of it, and the truth of the matter is that no player plays for TS Galaxy until I've set their eyes on them. Definitely, you know, it is this hand that would sign or would at least give effect to the signing of the contract. At TS Galaxy, I would have seen such a player. I would have seen a lot of things. I would have been so sure that the ITS Galaxy player, one, they've got the talent, two, the ITS Galaxy player, and three, they stand a chance to making it far in their careers. You know, that's the long and the short of it. The how part, the mechanics around that remains our intelligence, and we cannot just give it away. But then, for many admirers out there, I think they will be pleased to know that we are a team at TS Galaxy, and we work, you know, together as a team. It's collective wisdom. Coaches, everyone they've got their input ultimately, you know, and indeed, people should also be very happy that there's talent in the country. I think we've illustrated this in so many ways as this club, you know, and if we could really better ourselves as football custodians, I think we could take this country very far. This country is so blessed with talent such that if many things are done in the best way or best possible way, you know, this country should be at least reaching the semi-finals of the World Cup. You know, hopefully, you know, people will see it as I see it, and then start committing themselves to doing probably what is best for the country from a talent, let's say, identification, management, and so forth point of view.
I think you mentioned though that the coaches do have a say, or can a coach come to you and say, I've seen this player, I want to sign him? Is there room for?
Yes, of course, we are a team. So we are a team. In fact, not only coaches. At TS Galaxy, we listen even supporters. You know, many of them, they reach out to me on these platforms, social media platforms. There's not one message, by the way, that I don't read. There's not one recommendation from a supporter that I don't follow just because a person may be sitting in a little corner in Tomfi Baba. No. So at TS Galaxy, we respect our people and we believe in them, by the way. We believe in the fact that they may be wherever they are, not necessarily sent in Johannesburg in these ivory towers. But then they also, through their passion, have got a lot to contribute in the game. So we take everyone seriously. And never mind our coaches in-house. Any coach, everyone can recommend a player at TS Galaxy. Head coach, everyone. For sure, we are that kind of a club.
To move on to the players, I mean, you spoke about Sebelebele. As chairman of the club, I know there are players at other clubs as well that have left this team. But when you see Siema, Kamogelo Sebelebele, and Sishenduli starting for Orlando Pirates, because how does it make you feel? There are others at other clubs, I know.
Yeah, it makes me very proud. And not only me, I think our club, our supporters, and everyone behind the institution TS Galaxy. Because Tina, you know, probably our strength is that we know the ground on which we are standing. We know as much that we are not Orlando Pirates. Orlando Pirates was founded in 1937. So we can't be, even in our wildest dreams, we can never be. So there's a lot that comes with contributing meaningfully to a project, Orlando Pirates. You know, and we pride ourselves with that. The same with Kaizer Chiefs. We are not Kaizer Chiefs, we can't be. You know, we will be TS Galaxy, we are TS Galaxy, we shall forever be. Our project, our institution is growing, will grow for sure. In the fullness of time, it can be whatever else, you know, that is set to be. We realize that. Therefore, when you see our players performing at Sundowns, at Orlando Pirates, at Kaizer Chiefs, you know, we as TS Galaxy, I'm talking now for us on behalf of our supporters, every other stakeholder in the club, we become very proud, not necessarily me alone.
Chairman, where did you find Sebelebele? How did you get here? And just share a bit of his journey here at TS Galaxy.
Yeah, well, I'll start answering the question from when did he get here. He got here in 2021. You know, at which time I gave him the opportunity to be part of our DDC. Yes, and I watched him several times. I started raving about him when people within the club had never seen him or heard of such a name. Yes, and as they say, the rest is now history.
And what do you make of his journey here at Galaxy?
Yeah, look, in 2021 already, personally, I could tell that he's destined for greatness in football. And then, of course, as a young player, there are a lot of developmental aspects that needed to be polished in his game. A lot. He knows it too, you know. And indeed, that necessitated engagements between us, myself, the coaching team, on those aspects of this particular player, in the same way that we do in relation to all our players. So Mike became a subject for the longest time, obviously, at our club. And indeed, the coaches worked on that, you know, those aspects that needed some improvement. When I say coaches, I'm starting with Sead Ramovic. He put a lot of work on Mike, a lot of work. And it continued with Bega now, Adnan Beganovic. He put a lot of work. But then not only that, you know, Coach Ash in our development, in our DDC, he put a lot of work. So you can see there were a lot of contributors, but for those past 4 years he has been here. This is where he was made. He was not what he is now. If you take, or he wouldn't have been if you take the last 4 years that our club put specifically, you know, on him. So credit to our coaching teams, credit to all people of the club, because besides being coach football, there will be lots of engagement. You know, we talk. Before he left here, we spoke in depth as to what needs to happen in his career and how. And indeed, it's now manifesting, and you know, we are proud of that. So and then it took him, I think, at least one season. Season 2, you started seeing the signs that for sure what we had seen in him, you know, when he walked into our club for the first time, would come out. And indeed, I think season 2023, 2024, it started becoming clearer and clear. Last season, slow start, but towards the end, he really shot the lights out. He showed his best potential, and it continued when he was called up into the COSAFA squad. And indeed, that time became right for Mike to leave our club and go and be a meaningful contributor in the national agenda. Never mind the Club Orlando Pirates.
Just in case, for those who don't know, because you said Mike is his other name.
Yeah, he's Michael Kamogelo. So
yeah. But in your engagements with him, is he someone who has a strong mindset, because he's at Pirates, and when you do well, attention is on you, and if you're not able to handle the fame that's all of a sudden coming, you know, then you could go by the wayside. How's he mentally? Yeah,
so for starters, Mike is one of the most beautiful human beings I've come across in football. I'm honest with that. I'm not putting out there a political correct statement. Many who interact around him would know this also. And secondly, his head is very clean. So meaning the wish therefore means that his headspace is well positioned at all relevant or material times. So these, in my view, are the characters that a player would require to live, survive, and deliver at Club Orlando Pirates. Only maybe issues out of a human being's control, such as form, sometimes could derail or delay, their progression. Otherwise, he has that. And the biggest of them all characters is that Mike believes in Mike. I watched the first 2 games, him sitting on the bench, because I know him. I said, they don't know Mike. This coach, the day they will see Mike. I saw him, I think they put him late against Marum and Bloemfontein. Because I know him, I can see through the eyes. I said, Mike is on fire. If coach knew what I know, the sooner he plays Mike, the better for Orlando Pirates now. It was a loss. They lost the game. I said, the sooner the better. He's got such high level of unpredictability, in his game. He can spin magic, instantaneous, just from nowhere, and cause a situation. When you thought, or when the opposition thought that they are in control, they've kept the shape, they're in good position, everything is in place, then Mike will just come, and sort of wield his magic bend, and then everything else turns the game around and becomes something else. So he has that, I don't know where he gets the magic went from. He is that type of a player, so super talented. I'm happy for the country that there is such a player. The way I've known him, he's a humble soul as well. So I think if he continues with that, it will definitely sustain him, and at Club Orlando Pirates, and for sure in the country. I can't imagine him changing the way I've got to know him. Super humble. In fact, he's unfazed by this whole hype around him. If anything, he doesn't want, to be caught in it. He just wants, the way I know him, would focus on his football and want to deliver in the field of play. And he's got a massive heart. I think he's got a heart the size of a bull, Mike. So these are the credentials of an Orlando Pirates player, in my humble opinion. To play for that kind of a club, you need to be as such. So he has it. I think it's all in there for sure. God bless him more, and we wish him, the best career.
Yeah. And I want to ask you about Kamogelo Sebelebele as well. I mean, he's been there for a few months now in Norway after making the move. How often do you keep in touch with him, and have you been able to watch some of his games and see how well he's been doing?
Yeah, I follow all our players' performances, or former players call them that. Definitely. Mike, I've given you probably my observations in games that he has played. Not only him, everyone who has been at our club. Definitely, I follow that religiously, because they know when they leave here, I always tell them, go and be the best ambassador of TS Galaxy Football Club. We now release you. And they know that. But then I want to know if they are fulfilling that mandate. Without keeping an eye or keeping in touch. Maybe keeping an eye more than keeping in touch, because when they're at the other club, more especially locally, they're in a different environment. So the least you talk to them, the better. We'll meet in the tunnel. We'll hug after the game. It's a space. I mean, we have to respect the other our sister clubs' spaces, and not engage continuously with them. But then, of course, other people I don't know around the club. But as for me, for sure. But in Kabine's case, different. European clubs, obviously, they have a different mindset as well. Him really performing at a high level, in my view, is sacrosanct. Not for us as our former player, but for the country as well. So we monitor that. So we still talk. I watch his games. We talk about his game. Instances where I think he could have done better here and there, or where I think really, there's one game he performed, I think was rated as the best player of the 20-something players, 28 players that featured on the day. So these are the kind of things that you want to see, and it's the reason why I would always follow tabs and try to see how he performs. So we speak and we spend time on the phone, we talk, I check his games, every game, every week, make sure, and then it's not only good for him, because he understands that, because he knows probably he's worked with me here. Maybe he knows the level of the detail and application, here, so such that whatever view or comment I may have, probably he's more likely to take it very seriously. So and indeed, when I see him applying some of the things, I've become very happy, and he's doing fantastically well. The level of the Norwegian league is quite high. The level of intensity is super high. And mind you, we used him for a better part last season as a central defender. So he's a 2-in-1 kind of a player. But then they have been using him since day one as a fullback on the left. So but then he plays as though he's been playing, or when he left he was playing as a fullback. In the first season with us he played as a fullback. So he plays both positions, and of course, if you ask me which is the best position for him, he's the best left-footed central defender we have in the country today. Whether he can still play it, I think he's highly adaptable. He can play there. So in the national team, when the coach has a Kamogelo Sebelebele, we've got 2 players. It makes your life very easy in selecting, and it eliminates headaches. So I think he's doing fantastically well, and we are also proud of him.
Another one who is still at the club is Ndamane.
Yes.
Because there's been a lot of talk about him. One, can you afford to lose him in this window? And 2, the links with Sundowns. Is there something there?
Yeah. Look, as Project Yes Galaxy, we are duty bound to lose Ndamane or any of our players at any stage of the transfer window period, to be honest. Because we have to be, like I explained, we have to be the club, rightly or wrongly. And which then obviously it sets the bar even higher. We find ourselves having our jobs cut out to find a replacement. It's not the easiest thing to do, indeed. So we are that club who have accepted our faith. Until we have 100 million franchise, or even 20 million franchise sponsors, or 25 million, then things will change. We also ambitious. We want to win things. We want to be a club that grows. We want to be a club that challenges, and so forth and so on. But then sometimes, our circumstances dictate on us as to what to do with our best talent, more than us dictating, or at least doing things as we would. So, but then gradually, as we do that, at the same time, as I explained earlier, we are reinforcing. We make sure that the club stays in the league. We make sure that the club attains a top 8 position. We make sure that the club attains a position better than it would have attained in the previous season. So we have managed to do that in the last 4 seasons in a row. So be it now in the Sundowns talk, indeed Sundowns are very keen on Ndamane. Indeed, there are talks. We haven't concluded yet. If we conclude, we conclude. The modalities will follow. But then we know exactly. And as Yes Galaxy, we would also know that we always plan ahead. So probably we know if this situation happens, what then is the solution? So we've got all the permutations figured out around the money.
It means you also built a system in the team when you can't be caught offside with your pants down.
No.
But that's good. But Chairman, you're wearing a beautiful jersey there, and as you say, there's no sponsor.
Yes.
There are quite a lot of good things happening here at Yes Galaxy.
True.
We've spoken about the players, your coaches have come and done well here. But still, on that beautiful jersey, there is no sponsor.
Yes.
Is there anything happening at the moment with regards to that? And what's the struggle?
No, look, we've never lost hope. We've been working hard trying to find a sponsor for our club, because everywhere else in the world, football is about sponsorship. It's very difficult to survive without sponsorship. I can say now, let's take one of our big clubs. Tell them, Kaizer Chiefs or even Pirates. Tell them, take away Vodacom, take away Toyota, take away all these Kappa or whatever the case may be, and Adidas and money, and see if they'll be the same clubs. You understand? So sponsorship is not only them, and I'm happy for our big clubs, but of course everywhere else in the world, Barcelona, take all their sponsors and let's see if there will be a fraction of what they are. You know, Man City, whoever else out there. So it means that this game is about sponsorships. The strength of a club is on the sponsorships that it commands. That is true, because now they can play in the market, they can do a whole number of things in growing their projects. So we are on that path. One day a sponsor will land at TS Galaxy. We haven't lost, we cannot. When we know that the heartbeat of a club is a sponsorship, therefore how can we lose hope on that? So I've been working for many years. But then of course also in South Africa, you know, we've got unfortunate situations. I believe that corporate South Africa doesn't so much believe in football. I'm saying this because we have a situation, for example, in our province, in Mpumalanga. So you have two sports institutions or organizations, or clubs if you want to call it that. One that it's a soccer one, that's TS Galaxy, the only one in the province. And another one at the highest level is the rugby one, the Pumas. Right. So you have the Pumas, and whom I love, by the way, and I admire their success in the recent times, which is informed by the financial muscle, the financial support that they receive. So Pumas, who would attract less than 500 spectators at Mamelodi Stadium at any given time, when they play, they are a Christmas tree. They've got no space, you know, in their jersey. All the assets are taken. They've got all kind of sponsorships, local business, anything and everything, transportation, Suzuki, whatever else. So it can never be that it's because of the supporters. They don't have. We pull on our West Day 10 times better than they are pulling into Mamelodi Stadium. So they are a white institution. We are a black-owned club or organization. So does color become an issue, or race? You can try and figure it out yourself. Probably your answer will definitely be a yes. And therefore, you would also agree with me when I say there's not enough support given by corporate South Africa, you know, to football clubs. I take another example. You have Cape Town City, our beautiful sister club Cape Town City, who are now relegated. And as a consequence of such, they have lost their franchise FNB, right? Who was their franchise sponsor. Big corporate brand, I mean, a huge bank, one of the biggest in the country. Football was proud to have an FNB supporting a football club. But now, because City have been relegated, they would rather be out of football than picking on any of the other 13 or 12 clubs that don't have sponsorship in the country. What does that tell you? You know, probably Cape Town City was their ideal club. You know, white owned, yes. Is color effect? I believe it is. If I've drawn two examples. One, the Pumas rugby, you know, football versus TS Galaxy Pumas, and now I've also cut across into football club versus a football club, you know, and look at the rest of the clubs that don't have. Obviously, most of the clubs in our league are black owned anyway, so they would rather. FNB would rather stay out of football. This is what you could only discern from the situation as it is. I would have expected FNB to look at anyone else and say, you know, we have lost. We still want to be in the game of football, you know, because it's part of our objectives as a bank to be there where the masses are. And then our preferred club at this time has been relegated. Who else out there? And say maybe Chiba United, for example, just to put one example, or Devon City. You know, there's all these many clubs that don't have a franchise partner. No, this bank that made us so proud as football stakeholders of football people or football South Africa, they made us very proud when they came into the game. They would rather stay out of it. You know, it's such an unfortunate situation. So then, which is the reason why only the big clubs will be supported, largely, simply because of their crowd. But the Pumas rugby team they don't need to have a crowd to have more than 5 sponsors on their shorts, bums at the back, everywhere else. You know, So, but the Chiefs will need a crowd. You take away the crowd, then probably Chiefs in the same boat as us. It's not correct. I think there's a lot of wrong with this from corporate South Africa. It's about time that the sport, which happens to be the biggest sport in the globe anyway, in our own country, where numbers matter, when we are a corporate, it pulls masses, be it eyeballs on the screens or bums in the seats when mostly when the biggest spectacles happen. So I wouldn't compare Stellenbosch. I mean, I don't need to. They are the richest club in the country. They are the richest club. I don't care how humble they can be and say, no, Remgo maybe doesn't support. I don't care. They're the richest club in the country. They won't fall under any given circumstances. They've got a beautiful, state of the art building there, where there's science, where there's everything else, a performance center, and people don't know that. Why do you think Bafana Bafana would rather camp in Stellenbosch? Because they want to benefit from such. They've got the best in the country. So they are justified in producing the talent that they are producing. In fact, maybe they're not doing enough. They're not producing enough, for what they have. And personally, I'm the biggest fan of Stellenbosch. They are coming into the game became one more different proposition. Yes, they might be supported by wealth, but it doesn't matter. You want Rupert to be a feature in our football. In the same way I praised and I was so fulfilled and happy about FNB being a feature, supporting Cape Town City. So you want Rupert to be. You cannot have the richest man in the country not being part of football. So he is here. That's what we want as Football South Africa. And many others. Some are just staying out. Mining houses. Mpumalanga has got, I don't know, more than 200 mines. But they would rather have their cash reserves ramped up instead of coming and supporting ATS Galaxy. And then some of the businesses that support our Pumas in the province, by the way, as I said, they are provincially based and they're black, some of them. Yes, black owned. They derive projects from huge, massive tenders from government in the province, but they'll never try to, I mean, the Airlink, we as TS Galaxy also need, even if it's sponsorship in kind, they don't say Airlink give us money. Say Airlink also fly us, for free to Cape Town. It would make a difference, but they will never come because we are TS Galaxy and we are black owned. That's the only reason. I cannot see any other valid reason why. It is clear, it is crystal clear. Yes, the performances, the achievements of the Pumas, I'm very proud of it. I wish them more. But then, of course, they're as good and as strong as the money that supports them, which is in the nature. That's what a sporting club needs to succeed. We don't have. We have to now part with our best talents. If we have this kind of resources as well, probably all these players you see everywhere else that we are raving about as having contributed to Football South Africa, they would be here. What kind of a club would be? Maybe we would be challenging for the league easy, but we can't afford even to have them because of this lack of financial support from our own corporates in the province and indeed nationally and everywhere else. So that's the situation as it is. I think it is about time that corporate South Africa put a keen eye on football, as a business. I'm saying this because we've got a beautiful league, one of the strongest, if not the strongest in the continent. Clean, year in, year out. A lot of things have been achieved. The achievements outweigh the challenges. It's normal for every league to be faced with challenges year in, year out. Anyway, it has to be like that. It is in the nature of things. But those challenges are outweighed by the success and the achievements of the league. So what else? What could be the reason why the corporates will choose to shy away? Okay, if you say not all these clubs are the same, but that's correct. Probably they're not the same And in the converse as well, the same applies. If you don't like 8 of them, there should be 4 that you should at least choose from, or something like that. So it's not us TS Galaxy alone. We are the victim of the situation in the country, and like all our other sister clubs. So I'm looking forward for the future where all 16 clubs in the South African Premier Division have got sponsorships, or at least one minimum. So you can imagine what kind of a league we're going to have. You know, that's where we're going to be reaching our potential probably as a country of playing in the semi-final or even the final of the World Cup. So, but that is delayed. It cannot so happen because there's no financial support from corporates, just because it's a black sport.
Do you think the clubs are attractive for sponsors?
As I've said earlier, if not all the 12 are attractive, and there's a good few you can pick on. There's a 4, there must be a 4 or 5. You know, depending on what you mean by attractive. Because as corporates probably we're looking for different things, so they're looking for different things. But it can never be that with a choice of 12, at least there's not 1 or 2 that meets your criteria. If you are true to your intent, it can never be.
So there are a few that you could...
There should be.
Yeah.
There definitely should be. You know, if you are in a financial services market, probably there's a club that you look at it and say, they are strategically positioned, they're the only ones maybe in their province, then therefore we stand a chance of generating numbers from there. Okay, this and that and the other. I'm just making one example. If you're a banker, you know, you could look at the situation and say, there's this one club, you know, they've got a book of sorts regardless, so we want to leverage on that. Therefore, you know, there must be something. It can never be that all 12 clubs, there's nothing about them. There's a story behind each club that exists in our league, such that each of them, as I've said, at least they deserve a minimum of 1 sponsor. But it's not happening. Because it's a black sport. I'm saying that again. There can be no other reason. Go to rugby and see. The rugby clubs are confused. They don't know which sponsors not to take. To take on. You know, they're just spoiled. They're spoiled for choice. Right? So then we praise our rugby. I say, the Springboks are well beat us and they reach the World Cup and all that. Look at the financial support that they have. Look at the lack of support amongst the football clubs. With that support, at least half of that, we can also be well beaters in the same way and play. Never mind the fact that football is played, you know, almost by all the countries of the world compared to rugby. So it's easy to be in the final of a World Cup because it's only how many? Maybe top ones, just 4 or 3. You count Australia, count New Zealand, count South Africa. Then here and there, some Argentina or France will be and whatnot. You know, it's not really as compared to football, where you have to beat the world to be the champion of the world. Right. So, yeah. But anyway, that's the situation.
Yeah. We're going to wrap it up now, Chairman. I want to move to something that does not necessarily relate to TS Galaxy, but to players. And you've dealt with players before, previously as an agent. I'm looking at the situation of Sundowns and Lucas Ribeiro, right?
Yes.
Where a player wants to leave the team and the team maybe wants to keep him or wants a certain price to let him go. In that situation, who is right, who is wrong? And it does not necessarily have to be about him, but there are situations, maybe it happens more in Europe, where you've heard people say they put in a transfer request.
So, you know, in a football player transfer, there's a lot of dynamics, to be honest. It is not only in South Africa, even in Europe, if you check, it is not so easy for the biggest clubs to transfer their best players just like that. There's a number of factors that come into play. Mind you, these clubs ordinarily would be affording these players anyway. But then there will be some suitors, obviously, that say they'll do even better. And these clubs, in all likelihood, they would have the ability to match. So Sundowns can pay Ribeiro any money that he's being chased. I mean, he's being is the carrot that is being dangled on him anywhere in the world, if they wish to. Right. So that's why you'd find the Sundowns wanting to put their foot down. But then also Sundowns, while they have the ability, they are also guided by their own in-house situation. You can never run a football club and have all players here and someone else there. It will just collapse the entire thing. So they are forced by their own circumstances. At the same time, because of this one player who wants to be here, you cannot bring everyone else to be there or thereabout. But then at the same they would also be saying, we have a contract. Here you have a player that says, someone else wants to pay me 10 times or 5 times than what I'm being paid, so I want to leave. So it becomes a very difficult balancing act. Mind you, a Sundowns is not a club that would need the money. It would need 50 million or something will make a difference to their lives. A TS Galaxy for sure. So they maybe don't need it. I think you journalists know better how much they brought back from the Club World Cup. So, and then before then, they were still sustaining themselves and doing fantastically well and spending even more, So they can't be excited by 50 million such that they would want to. But then they're driven by ambition. They want to win the Champions League. They want to be high up there amongst the best clubs in the world and achieve a better position in the Club World Cup. And it is players like Ribeiro that make a difference. That's why they brought them here. So when that dream is about to unfold and be realized as such, then this player wants to leave. Wants to walk out of the door. So they will resist. They will want to assert their rights. Because they want to derive the best. Money is not an issue with them. They say, come talk to us. Let's see what we can do. I suppose, I can only imagine that's the situation. I don't know. I don't have any intel in their house. So there's never a right or a wrong party in these situations. But then what happens always is a failure of the meeting of the minds. So, because these people, they see their own worlds with different eyes. Right? And then you can only hope that sanity should prevail at some point or another. And as a player, obviously you don't want to leave on that note anywhere, because even those who are busy suiting you there, your suitors, they're looking at it. They'll take a dimmed view on you as a human being. They may not say so today because they want you, by the way. So you don't want that generally as a human being, never mind a football player. So I think then it becomes in the hands of the advisors of the player on one hand, and of course the leaders at the club concerned, and decision makers. And only sanity will resolve this thing. So one party has to be sane to influence the other one to be sane, such that there becomes a meeting of the mind, and this agreement of sort becomes consummated and the issues becomes resolved. So there's never a wrong and the right party in this situation.
What goes into consideration for a transfer fee, Chairman? Is it, this is how much we spend on, because we're using Ribeiro, this is how much we've spent on Ribeiro, this is how much we've paid for him in salary since he joined, this is how much is left on his contract still with us, this is how well he performed on a world stage. What goes into
a transfer fee? Yes, there's a number of factors probably that come into play. Most of the things, his contract, the value thereof, the duration, remaining years, and so forth and so on. Including the player's ability and talent. These are all things that come into play when considering a transfer fee. But equally so, there are situations, maybe such as a case in point, where actually no transfer fee needs to be considered. The club feels that We don't want to transfer. We want to derive the best value out of this player that we've invested on.
They're allowed to.
Yes. I mean, they have a contract that says we are employing you from this date to that date for these many years. And during time, you shall be with us and you will perform, deliver, play, and do this and that and the other. You know, so it's got obligations. And they say in exchange, we will be paying you X for all these years or for each of the years. And they're fulfilling that. You know, so which wrong have they committed? One, we won't see any. But then the player on the other hand, like I indicated earlier, would say, you know, I want to earn more. I have a short career, I have this and I have that. That's why I say, you know, sanity can be the only solution to this problem. Otherwise, transfer fee is informed by a number of factors to a willing party. To the extent that there's a party wills to transfer, i.e. a club wills to transfer, then it becomes a consideration. But the matters where it can never be a consideration at all. Insofar as the club does not wish to transfer, then there's no talk about transfer fee. So it depends. So parties have to find each other.
Yeah. And lastly, Chairman, if you go to FIFA as a player and you win a case like this, does it not create problems for future? Whereas when players experience such, then the first thing they do is run to FIFA because they want to leave when there's already a contract in place.
Yeah, if FIFA could make a finding against the club for no apparent reasons, then it will create problems. But then if there are sound and justifiable reasons in law, where there would have been some violations of the agreements and so forth and so on. You know, we don't know what the contracts of this player or this particular player of players at clubs will be stipulating. But for example, if a contract stipulates that should the club receive a bid in an amount of 20 million, the club agrees to transfer the player. And that gets violated. Then a bid of 40 comes, then the club refuses. For sure, FIFA can easily make a finding or is likely to make a finding against the club. But in the absence of such, whether everything, every commitment in the contract is being performed by the club, then FIFA would be hard-pressed to find a justifiable reason in law. Just to say there's interest on another club, from another club, therefore transfer. Never. I cannot see any FIFA jurisprudence allowing for such. So there are always facts around each case, and they differ. And every decision is informed by the facts, you know, around the case. Yeah, so it depends. And we are unsighted, we don't really know what could be at play. Maybe there's certain things in the contract that have not been sort of performed by some, I don't know, or none, you know. I believe that FIFA, people will think when, God forbid, in favor of Sundowns, of course, should that judgment come against Sundowns, people will believe, Ribeiro walked away, you know, just decided to walk out. Oh, great, everyone else, then there's risk that players can walk out anytime. No, it will only be based on reasons and law, you know, based on the underlying contractual commitments. For sure, it can't be based on anything else. There's no thumb sucking, there's no second guessing or guessing at all. So with that, you know, if the right decision is made or decision is made in favor of the player, I believe it will be informed by that, as I've explained. Equally so, if it's made in favor of the club, it will also be informed by such. It can never be anything else, you know. But then, we'll see what comes out of the wash in this particular case.
Thank you so much, Chairman, for your time. And good luck for the season.
Thank you, brother.